Hello everyone, welcome back to MalStorm Gaming. My name is Malachi Gardner. Today I am very excited to begin my playthrough of Enchanters, the card drafting game for 1 to 4 players. I hope you enjoyed the video. Alright everyone, so I have Enchanters all set up here, and this is a solo game, and I am using the Automa deck. So there's 2 different ways of playing Enchanters solo. You can use the Automa deck, like I am, and that is just going to be like a normal multiplayer game, with the Automa deck controlling the second player. And you also can use the Automa deck in a multiplayer game just to add an extra player. So if you had 2 players in your group and you wanted to add a 3rd player, you could use the Automa deck to simulate that. But the second way of playing solo would be to take 2 characters on and go in the cooperative game mode against the Overlord. So the goal of Enchanters is to get the most glory points, which is this little wreath symbol there. So this horn is worth 2 glory points. And in the solo game, you're trying to get over 50 glory points, and that would be considered a win, whereas in the multiplayer game, you're just going to see whoever gets the most points. So that is kind of nice, just to have some sort of target number when you're going at a solo game. To get glory points, the main thing you're going to need to do is defeat monster cards, which are going to be coming out of this deck over here. And in order to defeat these monsters, you're going to need 2 different stats. You're going to need your attack stat, which is marked by this track here, and then your defense stat, which is this track right here. And to get those 2 stats, you're going to need to enchant a powerful magical weapon. At the beginning of the game, each player is going to have a Fist of Enchanting, and this does nothing for you. It has no special abilities, no special stats, or anything like that, although you do have some flavor text here, which you can read to add a little bit of extra fun into your game if you so choose, but your Fist of Enchanting does nothing. Throughout the game, you're going to be taking cards from this journey track over here, and these are going to be different items and enchantments that you are going to be able to use to become more powerful. For example, you could take this pickaxe, and then instead of having a Fist of Enchanting, you'd have a Pickaxe of Enchanting, and then later on you could take this of Death, and then you could have a Pickaxe of Death. And I'll explain how all of that works in just a little bit. At the beginning of each round, what you're going to do is you are going to reveal the top card of the Automa deck. So we're just going to see where the X is in this line of cards here, which corresponds with the space on the journey track up here. So this is going to be the number 4 space. And so we're going to take this card and we're going to add it to the market stack, which is going to be a stack of cards that's going to be just set aside right here. So these are the cards that the Automa drafts. And so these cards are not going to be available to us unless you used some special ability like this card right here, which actually would allow you to take the top card from the market deck. So now after doing that, you're going to slide all of the cards down 1, and you're going to replenish the 6th slot with a new card. And now it's going to be the player's turn. On the player's turn, you're going to take 1 major action and as many minor actions as you'd like to take. So the most common major action you're going to be taking is the journey action. When you take the journey action, you're going to select one of these cards along the journey track, pay a cost based off of its position, and then take the card. So, if we wanted to take this horn right here, I could just take this card and then resolve its effects. If, on the other hand, I wanted to take this of Death card here, I'd need to pay its cost, which is printed below it on this mat, so that would be 1 gem. Now, we have 5 gems here. The greens are 1s, the blues are 3s, and then these yellow gems over here are going to be 10s. So we start with 2 1s and a 3. So we have 5 gems here. And so I could pay 1 gem to then take this card and resolve its effects. And then after taking the card, you're going to slide all the cards down and replenish the 6th slot, just like we did with the Automa. After selecting the card you'd like to take and paying its appropriate cost, you're going to first check to see if there are any immediate effects that go off. This card has none, and I'll show you what those look like when they come up, but it's going to have a down arrow followed by some ability text. Then you are going to, after resolving those effects, you are going to take this card, you're going to take your selected card and place it on one of the 3 appropriate stacks. On your playmat, you have 3 different slots. You have 1 for your item, 1 for your enchantment, and then 1 for your monsters and dragons that you've defeated over here. And you're always going to have 1 face-up of each one of those types. When you take a card, you're going to place it on top of that stack, but what is very important is how you place it, because each card has a bar running along the bottom of the card. and you want to make sure to never cover up anything below that bar. Now, this is very important because you have certain effects, such as this effect right here, which gives you 2 glory points, which are going to continue to affect your game even after you've covered up by another card. So later on, if I were to cover up this card with, suppose, a pickaxe, that pickaxe would go on top of this bar right here, and so then it still gives me the 2 glory points. So that is a very important part of the game. When you're placing a card, never cover up anything below this line right here. Now, after placing that card, you're going to adjust your stats accordingly, and then you are going to be able to continue on with your turn. So this horn card doesn't actually give us any stats, but if I look at this pickaxe again, this card demonstrates the 2 major stats in the game. You have your attack and then your defense. So if this card was the top card of my item stack, I gain 1 attack, which is that sword symbol, and then 1 defense. And then I'd be able to mark this on my little player board that I have 1 attack and 1 defense. And these stats are going to be very important when we're fighting monsters. And again, I'll explain that a little bit later on. And then you're also going to have some abilities that are going to be on your card that allow you to do various things. For example, this pickaxe says use X and discard this card to take 11 gems. Now, what is that X symbol? Well, that X symbol is the second of the major actions you're going to be able to take, and that is resting. Now, to summarize the journey action, you're going to choose which card you'd like to take, you're going to pay its appropriate costs, and then resolve that card, and place it in the appropriate stack. So now the second action you could take is the rest action, and this action will allow you to use some sort of ability printed on a card you have. Now, you may have noticed this big card over here. This is our village card, and there are several of these in the game, and each time you play, you're going to use one of them. For this game, we're going to be using the bonsai court, and this has 3 different boxes that will give you different effects. The first one is a multi-action, which generally allows you to pay crystals to gain extra attack for when you're fighting against a tough monster. The second box is going to give you some special rules and give you the rest actions. Then you're also going to have this third box, which will give you different scoring conditions, but this one's empty, so we don't actually have any other scoring conditions. One thing I'd like to point out on this card right now is this action right here. This says use X, then a sideways arrow, and then take 4 crystals. So that X symbol is the symbol for resting. So the sideways arrow that you see right there is just separating the cost from the effect. So if this is fulfilled, then you will take this reward. When you rest, you're going to select one action that requires you to rest. For example, this pickaxe right here says use rest and discard this card to take 11 crystals. Then this horn says use rest and then take 1 crystal for each attack. After selecting the ability you'd like to use and taking its benefit, you're going to just take the first card in the journey track and place this in the discard pile, which is known as the graveyard in this game, and then again you're going to slide all the cards down. Now you'll notice that everything you do in this game is going to cause at least 1 card to be removed from the journey track, and that's because after this deck runs out, the game's going to be over. So this is the timer for the game, and so that's why the automa is removing cards from this journey track, you're taking cards from the journey track, or discarding cards from the journey track based off of what you do. So those are all of the major actions that you can do in the game, and again, each turn you're going to do 1 of those. And then I also mentioned that you're able to do minor actions. Now, minor actions are going to be printed on cards, such as this Bonsai Quartz multi-action here, which says pay 2 crystals to get 1 attack, temporarily. Another minor action would be on this of Ice card, which says pay 2 crystals to get 1 defense for each attack. For minor actions like this one, you're only able to do this once per round. On the contrary, cards like this Bonsai Court, which are multi-actions, you're able to do multiple times per turn. So I apologize that took me so long to explain, but now we are actually ready to begin playing. So we can take a rest action, or we can take a journey action. The only rest action we have available to us is this Bonsai Quartz action, which says to take 4 crystals when you rest. But I think I'm going to actually go ahead and take a card from the journey track via a journey action. So what I would like to do is I want this pickaxe right here. This is a nice card, so I want to pay 2 crystals, because that's the cost right there. And then I will take this pickaxe, and then this little anvil symbol denotes that this is an item, so that's going to go on top of my fist, again, making sure that this line is not, making sure that nothing below this line is covered. This pickaxe gives me 1 attack and 1 defense, so I will mark that accordingly. And then I am going to go ahead and slide everything down 1. Now I'm going to go ahead and reveal a new card, and it is some goblins. So, real quick, with setup, the deck was stacked so that there'd be at least 6 items and enchantments on top of the deck before you could see your first monster, so that you have a little bit of time to prepare. So this monster is going to have a health value and then an attack value. When you go to attack a monster, you're going to compare your attack and your defense value to his health and attack. Now, one thing I really appreciate that just makes it very easy, the stats that you compare are going to be color coordinated. So you're going to compare your red attack to his red health. Then you're going to compare his blue attack to your blue defense. That's just very helpful and is easy to remember because they're color coordinated. So what's going to happen is you're going to check to see what your attack is. In this case, I'm very weak and I have an attack of 1. Then you're going to see, is that equal to or greater than his attack value? If it is, then you have defeated that monster, and now you're going to get some points or other benefits based off of that. If it is not, then you cannot actually defeat that monster, and you should just pick a different card from the journey track instead. Then you're going to check to see the difference between his attack and your defense. In this case, I have 1 defense, and he has 4 attacks. So the difference there would be 3, which means that I'm going to take 3 of these nasty wound tokens, which are worth negative points at the end of the game. So that's just how combat works, and then after defeating a monster, it's going to go into your 3rd defeated monsters and dragons stack, and that's going to function just like your item and enchantment stacks do, with you never covering up below this line and having some immediate effects like this one, which says when you take this card, steal 1 gem from a target player. And so now we've taken our turn, we've replenished the journey track, and now we're going to go on to the 2nd round. And it says from under your nose, and it's going to be the 2nd card. So this of death is going to be removed from the journey track. And as you can see, the enemy's turns are so fast, which I really appreciate, and that just makes it really nice. So it's pretty much always your turn. So I just appreciate that. Now, let's see what I want to take. So I think I'd like to take this of ice. So that's going to cost 1. So I'm going to change this in and then take 2 back. And now, this gives me 1 defense, so that'll be nice. And then this is an enchantment, as denoted by this eye symbol here, so that's going to go on top of my of enchanting. And then I can pay 2 crystals to get +1 defense for each attack. Alright, and so now I have a pickaxe of ice. Alright, so now I'm going to reveal a new card, and it is a ghoul. Alright, so let's see what the enemies do. And they're going to remove the 5th slot, so that'll be the goblins here. And then it has an ability here that says you can use a rest and take 2 wounds to journey to the market. To journey to the market for the top card. So if I rest and take 2 wounds, I can take this goblin here, or whatever it is on top. So that is a nice thing that you can do. So I think now I'm actually going to rest and take the Bonsai Quartz rest action. So that is going to give me 4 crystals. And then I'm going to discard this horn. Slide everything down. Alright, so now I'm going to reveal this card right here, and it's going to be the 4th slot. That'll be the ghoul here. And then it says you can rest and take 1 damage and discard any card. So when you do that, you're just going to discard the top card of either one of your 3 stacks. And then you're going to journey to the market for the top card. This scale armor here is really interesting because it gives me 1 defense stat for while it's face up, 2 defense for always because it's below this line, so this will never be covered up. If I had my pickaxe on top of it, you'd still be able to see the 2 defense, which means you still get it. So you'll give me 3 defense when it's on top, and then 2 defense when it's covered. But it also gives me a shattered sword, which means I lose 1 attack. So I get -1 attack, but +3 defense. That's very interesting. So I need to, I don't know, do I want to do that? That would be kind of powerful in terms of defense, but in terms of attack, that would weaken me significantly. You know what? I kind of think that I want to try that, so I'm going to pay 1 crystal to take the scale armor. I'm going to get 1, 2, 3 defense. So I'm going to go up to 5. And then I'm going to lose 1 attack. And then this is going to go on top of my pickaxe, which will actually cover up my attack anyway. So now, if we recalculate all my stats, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 defense. Okay. And then I have -1 attack. Now, luckily, you can never go below 0 attack, so that does nothing for me. But as soon as I gain attack, I'll just go down to 0 attack. So I'm pretty weak right now, but I am able to prevent a lot of damage from being dealt. And I think that'd be kind of cool. Alright, let's see what the Automa does. It's going to be number 6. Sorry. So it's going to be number 5, which will be this helmet here. So let's use a rest and take 2 wounds to journey to the top card there. Alrighty then. So I think I'm going to rest again. And I'm going to discard this of wind to take 4 more crystals. And one thing that I forgot to mention, this bonsai court has a special ability that says after resolving an immediate effect, heal 1. So that'll be pretty interesting. I haven't had to use that yet, but that'll allow me to heal wounds, which again are negative points. You can never actually die in this game, but those negative points do add up and can get very annoying. Okay, that's going to be number 2, which is this of sacrifice. I think I want to get this of storms, which will give me 2 attack, which is good, but what makes this card great is that those will be there for the rest of the game. So this will never be covered up, and I'm just always going to have that extra 2 attack, which is awesome. So now I still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 defense, but now I have 2 -1 attack, so I just have 1 attack, which is better than having 0. That's going to be number 6, and then I can use a rest, take 1 wound, and pay 1 crystal to journey. Now this is actually an interesting card because this is the 4th and final type of card inside the base game, and it's a dragon. So dragons are very powerful, and they're very similar to monsters, how they have their stats up here, and you fight them like you would any other monster, and you'll take them and get a ton of points. I mean, 11 points, and then, well, -2 attack for the rest of the game. That's not good, but dragons are different from monsters in one way, and that's just how cards interact with them. So you could have a card that says, I don't know, a monster gets +2 attack, but that would not apply to dragons because dragons and monsters are different. You could have another card that says you get 4 points for every dragon you've defeated at the end of the game. You only get those extra points for defeating dragons, not for defeating monsters. So they function just like monsters, and they are placed in the same stack, but card effects that apply to dragons do not apply to monsters, and vice versa. But that's actually taken, and so we're not going to be able to take this card unless we pay this steep cost of resting, taking a wound, and paying 1 crystal to journey here. And so I'm just so weak that I couldn't even take this out, even if I did that multi-action of paying 2 crystals to get +1 attack. I still couldn't defeat this dragon, so I am just going to let that slide, even though it would be nice to get that 11 points. But actually, we have another dragon right here, which this is a red dragon. So I actually think I'm going to take the free card here, which is the goblin. And I have 1 attack, so that will defeat this goblin, who has 1 health. And then he's going to do 4 damage to me, minus my 5 defense, because I have a ton of armor. And so that's going to defeat him, and I don't take any wounds. Then, as an immediate effect, I'm going to steal 1 crystal from a target player. Now, because the Automa doesn't actually have any crystals in his pool, whenever a card instructs you to steal crystals from another player, you're just going to take it from the bank. So I just gave him 1 crystal. And then it's going to give me 2 points at the end of the game. And again, that's below the line, so it's going to be persistent throughout the entire game. Alrighty then. That's going to be the 6th slot, which is the Fire Giant here. So now I think I'm going to take the rest action and discard the shield card and take 4 crystals from the bank. And so now I've got a nice pool of crystals there. And then I should have a decent amount to last me for a little while. So I think I'm going to stop the video here, and we'll start next time with the enemy's turn. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I hope you all are enjoying watching it as much as I am enjoying making it. If you are enjoying this video, then please like the video and subscribe to MalStorm Gaming and hit that little bell icon so that you're notified whenever I upload new content. And in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful day. Happy gaming.